Well, the Nelson Mandela Foundation will ask the High Court to declare AfriForum's Ernst in contempt of court. It says he gratuitously displayed the flag on Twitter under the pretext of academic debate. The Equality Court ruled that gratuitous displays of the apartheid-era flag constitute hate speech. It was also deemed harassment and unfair discrimination in terms of the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act. The application was brought by the Nelson Mandela Foundation and was opposed by AfriForum. Now, on the day of the ruling, Roets posted a picture of the flag on Twitter asking if he had just committed hate speech. Well, we're joined by the man himself in studio this afternoon. Roets is joining us, who claimed that the tweet is actually academic, and you tweeted it for academic reasons. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
I must ask you, what was the intention of the tweet in the first place?
Well, I think the intention of the tweet is, as I've said, it's to get clarity with regard to what the extent of the judgment is. We are, however, concerned with the steps that the Nelson Mandela Foundation is now trying to take. Firstly, we believe that they are dishonest in the way in which they frame their claims, which I will point out now. But other than that, it's very clear that this is not about the flag. This is about an attempt to enforce conformity. It's an attempt to implement censorship, to make sure that people express themselves in a way that is approved by the ruling elite, by the likes of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. And it seems that we are entering a new era, an era of censorship and banning and regulation of speech.
So are you blaming the Nelson Mandela Foundation here, or are you blaming, because this judgment was not issued and handed down by the Nelson Mandela Foundation. This judgment was handed down by the North Gauteng High Court.
Yes.
So I must ask you that when you're actually saying this and you're saying that you're concerned about the Nelson Mandela Foundation, should you not be concerned about the judgment in itself that was actually handed down by the North Gauteng High Court? And what are you saying, let me finish, what are you saying about the judgment that was handed down if just minutes after this judgment was handed down, you decided to tweet the actual flag?
Well, I'll tell you why we are concerned about the judgment, and I can elaborate on that, but I'll tell you why we're concerned about the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Is firstly, the Nelson Mandela Foundation is so openly dishonest. Here's a letter that we wrote to them in which we said we don't think this is a matter that should preferably not be resolved by courts. We hope that we can resolve this through dialogue. Here's a letter by the Nelson Mandela Foundation saying, and I'm reading, it's the attorney saying, our client has instructed us, our client is the Mandela Foundation, to reject your client's request. Today they issued a statement saying they want to have dialogue and AfriForum was never interested in dialogue. But further than that, immediately after the court judgment, on the steps of the court, Sello Atang, CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, said people needn't be concerned. This isn't something that would be enforced by the police. And then 2 days later, they want to file criminal charges against people. So they want people to be prosecuted for tweeting pictures. They want people to be prosecuted for the gratuitous. Now, gratuitous, the actual meaning of gratuitous is that without good call, without good reason. Minutes after this judgment was handed down, you went and tweeted this. Now, I have to ask, let's never mind the Nelson Mandela Foundation. I hear what you're saying about the Nelson Mandela Foundation. I want to understand your intention, because if you understand that if this was for academic reasons in itself, why did you not give an academic background or even academic? Because if it was for good reason, Addis, you would have not had the type of reaction on Twitter which you had. And some of those comments that you actually had were actually calling you a racist. Some were saying that they're going to come and murder me.
No, some were calling you a racist, including white South Africa were calling you racist. So then I must ask you, if you're going to respond like this, as you did with this tweet, are you then a racist? Do I have a racist that is sitting on my chair with me? Because this, I don't understand what was the reason behind. This is why I've got you here. So that you can explain to me, what was the reason for you tweeting this minutes behind judgment was handed? I have to ask if I'm sitting with a racist.
No, you're not sitting next to.
So who am I sitting with? Am I sitting with a racist or a guy that was inappropriate?
You're sitting next to an activist for freedom of expression.
So this is a sign of freedom of expression as you were tweeting?
No, this was.
So then what was it? If it was not
others,
freedom of expression, what was the intention of that tweet in the first place?
It was a call for freedom of expression.
Okay.
I think and that's why this is important to have this discussion, is the meaning of the flag has changed in the last few days. Previously, I mean, we've been on record for years saying that we don't display the flag. Now, the flag is not about, displaying the flag now is not anymore about wanting to promote what the things that are associated with that flag. I see people displaying the flag on social media now who have always despised the flag, who are saying they regard the flag now as a call for freedom of speech. If you're an activist for freedom of speech, you display the flag. That's not my position. That's what people are saying.
I don't want to talk about people. I want to talk about you. You see, the reason why I have you here is because you represent a certain pillar of leadership in the community, right? Let's talk about nation building. Let's talk about it from a mature perspective, right? So you represent a certain a grouping of South Africa, whether it's a minority group or whether it's activism, right? And around activism, as a person that propagates activism, by you having to mention a tweet after judgment was handed down, because there is no academic, if it was for academic reasons, you would have written at least an academic perspective or given academic context to the tweet in itself, which you didn't. And when we went through your timeline, you have not displayed the flag. You're absolutely right. You haven't displayed the flag in a long time. So why do it now?
I haven't displayed it ever.
So why do it now? So the reason why people are calling you a racist, you specifically, not South Africa, you, is because you've never done this. Now you're going to turn around and do it immediately? What is that?
If people want to call me a racist without any grounds or evidence, they can do that. That's not going to change me from a free speech activist to someone that conforms with censorship and banning.
Banning, so you're saying that you're against, so technically what you did there was act against the courts, because this was not judgment on behalf of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. This was judgment handed to by court. So in other words, you're saying that as an activist in South Africa, in a democratic dispensation, you have got no regard for rule of law, you've got no regard for the court, because if you had any form of regard for the courts, you never would have tweeted this after it was declared. So that means that you disrespect our legal system.
My tweet was within the ambit of the judgment.
How?
Because it's an academic inquiry.
What did you expect from it?
Well, what happened was, unfortunately, what I thought would happen would be that people wouldn't even care to think about whether this is an academic inquiry or not, and immediately go to the accusation of racism. That's the problem. Whenever a judgment is handed down, you need to have a discussion about that and say, what does this mean? What is the extent of this? But that's why I'm saying it's not about the flag.
What does the South African flag mean to you?
The flag doesn't mean anything to me. What it means to me now...
So it means nothing to you?
No.
So how do you tweet about something that means nothing to you? Because I can tell you what it means to you. Let me tell you what it means to many South Africans, the majority of South Africans, right? Let's give you this. The majority of South Africans view this as the reason why a lot of their family members are dead right now. The display of this flag, to some it may be academics, but to a majority of civilization of this country, it means that a lot of lives were lost for this. This flag symbolizes a whole lot of death, destruction, families that were separated. It's just a lot of sadness. So what I'm saying is that to you it means nothing. To the majority of South Africans, it means that they do not have their mothers, their fathers, their granddads sitting with them today because of this flag. So how responsible are you really as a citizen to even display this? What causes harm to other people? Help me understand this.
I don't differ from anything that you've just said, but let me ask you this. Do people whose family members were murdered through necklace murders by members of the ANC, do they have a right to say that the ANC's flag should be banned?
So you're asking me about whether or not the people who actually were necklaced by the ANC?
People whose family were necklaced by the ANC. It would have been a different
conversation had we been having a conversation about the ANC. Right now,
we're having a conversation about consistency and freedom of expression.
No, we're having a conversation about why is it that minutes after judgment was handed by the North Gauteng High Court, you decided to tweet the very same flag which you were criticized for on social media, the banning of the old South African flag because of the gratuitous display of it. I'm asking you, how do you justify those reasons? This conversation's got nothing to do with the African National Congress. This conversation's got everything to do with you and your intention of tweeting the old South African flag after judgment was handed down. Let's not mix issues. The next time when we have an interview about the ANC as well as what they did during the apartheid era, I'm happy to invite you. Right now, we're having a conversation about your intention and
we're not having a conversation. It's a monologue.
We're having a conversation about your intention as well as what is it that's going to come out of us. I have to ask you. What are you hoping to achieve out of it?
I have to ask you, why do you spend 2 minutes asking me a question and then give me 10 seconds to reply?
It's not the 2 minutes asking you the question. I'm giving you context into what exactly this flag means. I'm back to your question. What are you hoping to achieve?
I am an activist for freedom of expression.
Okay.
The flag doesn't mean anything to me in terms of the content of the flag. Okay. I do not hold a particular loyalty towards that flag, and we've been on record for many years discouraging people not to display this flag. However, if we reach an era of censorship and banning of ideas and banning of expression that is not aligned with what the ruling party wants you to say, or what the ruling party wants in terms of how you should express yourself, then we are entering a new era. And it's very ironic that this is driven by the Nelson Mandela Foundation, of all places.
So basically you're saying, as you've said, you've encouraged people not to display the flag, correct? You've encouraged people not to display the flag, and yet you turn around and are the same person that displays the flag.
Yes.
And yet you're calling the Nelson Mandela Foundation hypocrites.
I'm calling them liars.
Are you not a liar then?
Where did I lie?
Because you just said you've encouraged people not to display the flag.
Yes,
You go and you display
and
the
then there
flag.
was a
That makes you
landmark
hypocrite.
ruling in which I am against. We don't have any loyalty towards that flag. It's on record. The judge even said that. Now we've entered an era where you are not allowed by law. You will be prosecuted. They want to prosecute me. What does that mean? What if I say to them, I'm an activist for free speech, I disagree? Are they going to throw me in jail? Do you think someone should be thrown in jail for tweeting that?
I think that somebody should not be a hypocrite.
We
I think that
should
somebody
not-
should not encourage somebody to do something, not to do something, and then turn around and do it themselves, because that questions their
The
authority
tables-
as well as their credibility at this. And unfortunately, you are at the very center of that credibility. And
Yes.
it's not about the Nelson
The
Mandela,
landscape has changed.
it is about you and your credibility. We have to leave our conversation there, but thanks so for joining us in
Thank you
studio,
for having me.
shedding some light in terms of exactly what does the South African flag mean to you.